Alright, guys, so this is something new that I'm trying out, and it's all about writing and Pinterest. Yay! So, you have to have a Pinterest to do this little tutorial thing. Um, I'm just gonna run with it and hopefully it works out. But somebody said that they really wanted to know how to use Pinterest to make character boards and basically just like writing and story planning. And I have lots of experience with that because I am obsessed with character boards. So I have a little bit of knowledge. Like literally all of these are character boards. So first of all, you're going to need a Pinterest, and you may or may not want to have a Tumblr. So this is how to make character boards on Pinterest. So this whole idea is based around the idea of aesthetic, in quotes. If you don't know kind of the idea around aesthetic, there's actually a real word and definition for it. But basically, it came out of Tumblr. From my personal experience, I've seen a lot of these. Like if you look, they're just kind of like little, I don't know, posts that show like kind of an aesthetic, I don't know, like a kind of look, a kind of feel for a certain thing. So like I made some of these for my friends, so like this is what my friend looks like aesthetically in my opinion. But like other people have done them for books, so like this would be like a passenger aesthetic board, or like obviously this is for Myers-Briggs, this is INFJ, that's kind of how their aesthetic is. You can really do it for anything, and so that's why I've kind of taken to do it for my characters. So this is one of my character aesthetic boards for my previous novel, Regnant, and it just kind of shows like who the character is and how they feel and stuff like that. It's really useful to figure out like descriptions and figure out the inside of a character, like who are they, what do they think, what do they want. And so kind of using this idea of like aesthetically pleasing photos and like kind of description type things, I transferred it a I transferred it to Pinterest and I made them into boards. So we will just start by looking at some of my boards because I want to do that. I think one of my favorite boards that I have right now is for, let's just look at Nietzsche. So Nietzsche is a character. She is kind of Japanese. There it is right at the top. And so I just have this huge character board of all these things that kind of remind me of Nietzsche, and they kind of look like her, and it's just an easy way to describe who she is. So I start out and I have a bunch of pictures of like women who kind of look like what I would imagine her to be. So obviously we have like the blunt haircut over here, or we have this is the girl from Pacific Rim who I kind of fan cast as my main character or whatever. And obviously as we go up we have more different kinds of her so that I can have some variety in figuring out who she is. And then I have like just a random quote about something that I think she would like. I have a bunch of these. This was a phase I was going through when I was planning her character where she really liked bikes. So we have some bikes in there. And then we get to some of the more aesthetic parts where we have like cute pictures. This typography is actually Japanese, Chinese character for her name, which means, I think, east or west. I can't remember which one. But then we have some really cute colors that kind of remind me of Nishi. And yeah, it just kind of like goes on, and you can see kind of who she is as a person through this one aesthetic board. And so if we go back to my lovely Tumblr page, I will find her actual aesthetic board that I made so that we can better understand and see who she is. We will get there. There she is. So if you look at this, you can kind of see who she is and just come up with this feeling of this is Nishi. So it's really unique and really cool, and it definitely has helped me learn to know who my characters are. So we're back on Pinterest, obviously, and we saw her board. And so, I mean, we can look at some of the other ones. You can kind of do it on your own time. I have some for Ankita. Hers is like, she's Middle Eastern, but she's also a psychic. So she has just a lot of really cool colors and aesthetic stuff, and like you can just kind of tell who she is. I used MIA as her face, so that's pretty cool. But if we go back to Pinterest, and you're like, how do you do this, Jenna? This is magical. I want to have someone that looks like this, something to learn my characters, etc., etc. Well, viewer. It's not hard. You just need a library card. I'm just kidding. That's Arthur. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you go on Pinterest is you're going to want to find people to follow, because a lot of the posts that I have here are based on people that I have found, especially through Tumblr. Tumblr is a really good way to find aesthetic. If you just like search for aesthetic people, that's really easy. Or you could take the easy route, go to my Pinterest page, which is pinterest.com/Jaboba. Don't ask, it's a nickname. If you go to who I'm following, I have a lot of aesthetic people that I'm following. So go to Pinners. Some of these are random people, but some of them I found through Tumblr. Let's look at Maddie. So if you click on Maddie, hers is B. Sargent, obviously from the Raven Boys. She just has a bunch of really cool boards that have a lot of aesthetic pictures and stuff like that. So follow her, she's really cool, but I'll just use her page as an example to start finding stuff. So what you're going to want to do, you kind of have to know a little bit about your character going into it, like what they kind of like, or at least what you want them to look like. And then you can kind of go into, like, we're going to look at this blue neighborhood because it kind of goes with my aesthetic for my novel. So obviously, as you can see, we have a bunch of just random things that kind of don't make any sense. They go with a certain aesthetic, but when you're looking, you're like, I don't know what to pick. For me, when I pick, I like to do a combination of things that are like quotes, but also things that are just like color, but also things that kind of have like little details and stuff like that. So you're just going to want to find a bunch of these different people to follow. Maddie is one example. Kristen's really cool. I follow her on Tumblr, but hers is Serious Blacks. And so you just follow a bunch of these people, and you'll know them when you look on my thing because they just have really weird names, and their boards are all just really colorful and aesthetically pleasing and cool. So once you follow a bunch of these people, just kind of experiment and make a board for your character. You can make it secret. I do that all the time. And then just kind of like pin colors, pin words, pin all kinds of different things. And if you don't know how to actually use Pinterest, then all you got to do is, let's find a really good one that I actually want to pin. Also, it can get a little bit vulgar at times and a little bit trigger warning, so be careful if you have problems with that kind of stuff. I don't really like pink. I don't know why I'm on the pink board. Let's see what's a good one. Obviously, it takes a little bit of time, but once you get like really into it, you can kind of just do it for fun while you're out and about or while you're watching TV or whatever. So let's just say I want to pin this one. This looks great. So you hit the pin it button and you go, these are like all my boards, so I hope you don't mind looking at them. We're going to pin this to Ankita. So I go to Ankita, and if you want to add a description, you're welcome to it. Sometimes if I'm doing like a weird board that has multiple characters on it, I would just like write their first letter, or I could write Ankita. And then you would go to the board. I'm going to pin it on this one, and you click pin it and wait for it to load. And then obviously you just saved it to your board. This is actually my original character board for Ankita, and it's very different from the new board because she was a different character back then. But as you can see, it shows up and it's great, and you have all these different pins, so it's wonderful. Another technique I like to do, because sometimes you need specific things for a character, like this gold texture you can see here, this is not from anybody I follow, it's very random. So sometimes you want to have textures like that, or you want to have quotes for something specific, or you just need like an Indian girl, and none of the people who are posting have an Indian girl. So you're going to want to go to the search bar, and as you can see, I have some already searched, but let's say we want to find like a blue texture. So I start by typing out blue. I usually include texture, but if that doesn't work, you can take the texture word out. And then I always follow it with aesthetic, just because you get some weird like marketing and capitalistic stuff when you don't put aesthetic. Sometimes you even do when there is aesthetic, but it just kind of helps to keep it cohesive and be these weird like just colors and images. So as you can see, we have a bunch of like, there is some marketing stuff, but there's like textures and there's hands, and this is the kind of stuff that you want to use for your boards if you want to show off like a certain color scheme. I like to have color schemes with most of my characters. Even if it has multiple colors, it's nice to just tie it all together with one color. So let's say I want to pin this to Nietzsche. Obviously, we know how to pin it. I like to delete the little captions most of the time just to keep it mine so I know what it is. And then you find Nietzsche, you pin it, and voila, she is saved to Nietzsche's board. We can see it, it'll be great. But that's basically just how I kind of find aesthetics on actual Pinterest. Sometimes you can find it through Tumblr as well. But it gets to a certain point after you have searched enough and pinned enough. I do this all the time. So, like, even though I do have some random things like this for photography, a lot of the other things that I have are just picked for me and they're like based on a specific board. Like, this one I think would probably work for my Sigoku board. So I can pin it very easily because it was on my feed and it's very quick. And again, sometimes you get weird stuff like that and pancakes, but a lot of the things that are recommended to me now are just based on my aesthetic board. So it's really helpful, and it especially helps if you don't really know what you want to pin. Sometimes you can just scroll through your feed and say, oh yeah, this is definitely one of my characters, and it works really well, and I wouldn't have found it otherwise. So it takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of time to actually like get something that looks like what you want it to look like. It takes a lot of trial and error, and at the first during the first couple of times you're just going to be like, I don't know how to do this looks really bad. And I've taken a number of different boards that I started in one way and then I repinned it to reorder the pins, and now it finally has this feeling of this is my character, this is my book, this is my world. It's actually really helpful if you want to do world building as well. This is my current novels board, and so it has just a bunch of things. At first it kind of looks like it doesn't make any sense, but there are a lot of things that I've pinned that like are very specific to my world, and it helps me with descriptions and stuff like that. So to you it makes no sense, but to me it is wonderful, and it's my entire novel in one board. So it's very helpful, and I would definitely recommend it if you're trying to figure out characters or plan your novel or just get inspired. It's very helpful in inspiring you to write. However, I will tell you, the one drawback to this is that you will want to pin forever and you may never start your novel, because that is exactly where I'm at right now. And it's a struggle, but it's a beautiful struggle, so it's all worth it. So hopefully this helped you, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. Feel free to look at my wonderful boards. Also ignore the rest of the boards, but these are all my main character boards. Even if you go up to Regnant, that's about the last one for my previous novel. So hopefully this helped, and I will talk to you guys later because I can't see you. But yeah, okay, cool. Bye!